Is there actually an exact right age difference that breeds the best relationships? Hey, welcome to Online for Love, your #1 resource for dating by the numbers. Today we're going to be talking all about age differences in relationships and if there's actually a perfect age difference for the best relationship success. Before we dive into all of that though, you should definitely make sure to check out our free online dating app quiz, because this will actually pair you with your perfect online dating site or dating app. It's quick, fun, easy, and totally free, so don't forget to click the link that's popping up above me or found in the description down below. Go take the quiz, then come on back here and comment below what your results are, because we would love to know. While you're at it, do not forget to check out our free online dating opener formula, because this will actually triple your response rate on any dating site or dating app. It's actually going to help you out so much with those opening messages, which are crucial, and help you get your best foot forward. So don't forget to check that out, totally free, once again above me and found in the description down below. So age gaps in relationships. This is a highly talked about and contested subject. So obviously people have a lot of opinions about what kind of age gaps are accepted or appropriate, are good or bad, which work, which don't work. And this is something that's talked about a lot in society and the tabloids. You know, there's the whole Leonardo DiCaprio thing that he'll dump women once they get to, what is it, age 25 or something like that. But I know according to some studies, apparently there is some age gaps, and maybe one age gap specifically, that works best for relationships. So we're going to dive all into that. But first off, why are age gaps important and why should we consider them? So, you know, from the get-go, the obvious is that if you're dating someone who is much younger or much older, there's many differences that come along with it, and it can be creepy in some cases, depending how much younger you're dating. Obviously you need things to be legal, but assuming everything is legal, what's the case for and against age gaps? When you're dating someone who is a much different age than you, there's a lot of things to consider. First off, the difference in maturity. The maturity level of like a 35-year-old will vary greatly from that of a 21-year-old, clearly. I mean, if you think about the life experience of someone who is like 30 plus compared to someone who is around their early 20s, it's quite different. I mean, the person in their early 20s is just out of high school, right? They've just finished being a teenager, barely. And the person in their 30s has been an adult for over a decade. And that's just like a 10-year-ish difference. Think about people who are like 22 with like 44-year-olds. I mean, age differences can get pretty intense. It might be a little bit more difficult to find things in common. It might be, not necessarily, but you're not gonna have as many common footings as you would with someone who's around your same age. Obviously, age gaps matter because sometimes there can tend to be sort of predatory treatment regarding the age difference, right? Maybe people are interested in younger people because they know that they are more easily manipulated without having a decade plus of adulting under their belt. Maybe they are preyed upon because of their innocence and their willingness to give in to things, or the willingness to do things because maybe they're stuck in a situation that they haven't been able to get out of because they just ended high school. So there can be a lot of predatory notions around age differences, although there doesn't always have to be, especially again as people age up, the differences in age become less of a thing necessarily, because if you are a 45-year-old with a 55-year-old, that's much different dichotomy than a 20-year-old with a 30-year-old. But as they say, love is love. If there are two consenting adults who have a significant age difference, but they are consenting adults and they're happy, then let them be happy. Great for them. But I think it would be naive to ignore some of the implications that significant age differences have when the younger party is just out of their teenage days. There can lead to be some sort of predatory behavior, and it's not something to forget about. And I suppose if you want to look at the flip side, the younger party could be in some way using the older, more established party for money or for resources, etc. So there might be some using happening on both ends here. Or of course, to not be cynical, two people could have just fallen in love, and it's as simple as that. They just happen to have an age gap. However, big age differences aren't something to always ignore, in my opinion. I think it's worth examining the relationships of the people in them. Do people with significantly large age differences tend to work in the long run? Do their relationships work out? Are they healthy, beneficial, mutually relationships that are, happily ending for both of those people? It depends. All relationships are different, so sometimes those age gap relationships work, sometimes they don't. But actually there's some scientific data to back up the success or failure of relationships based on the age difference. So let's talk about what the best age difference is for the most successful relationship. Actually, before we do, if you're enjoying this video so far, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up and hit subscribe. So it really helps us out when you give our videos a thumbs up, because that shows YouTube that people are enjoying our content. So then YouTube pushes our videos out for more people to see. So we'd really appreciate your thumbs up and your subscriptions. All right, so let's talk about the ideal age gaps in relationships. So according to a study in the Journal of Population Economics, the most successful age difference in couples to breed the longest, happiest success in marriages and everything is actually 0 to 1 years. So the less of an age difference, the happier and the long-lasting and the better the relationships tend to be, according to this study and other studies as well. So actually, the bigger the age gap, the more marital problems were found in relationships. And for the reasons I talked about, it kind of makes sense a little bit for many reasons, because if you think about it, people who are about the same age, they've had similar lived experience, similar levels of maturity, generally speaking. They might have a lot more in common because they grew up around the same time. They have shared cultural experiences. You know, they're not from a different generation. In this study, it appeared that couples who had a larger age difference were less resilient to negative shocks in the relationship, including economic hardship and illness. Big age gaps can also indicate major differences in lifestyles and long-term goals, in interests and things like that. I mean, if you think about it, it could be possible that someone who was a bit younger could be in the stage of their life where they would really be interested in going out partying, maybe having a lot of friends and doing fun things and trips and vacations, and maybe the older party is past that part of life. Maybe they have children they're taking care of, maybe they are retired, maybe they're just too old or maybe not in the best health to do things like that anymore. Or, you know, maybe the younger party is ready for children. Maybe they want marriage and to have kids at this stage in their life, and maybe the older party already had kids and doesn't want them again, or never had kids, doesn't want them now, or is too old to conceive. There are many different factors that can make age gap relationships harder that don't necessarily have to do with even personality, but just lifestyle choices and maybe more practical things. Maybe even the difference in wealth could be an issue. Maybe one of the parties who is more established has more money than younger, and that could cause some issues in the relationship. There's a whole plethora of differences that can arise and cause problems in relationships with bigger age gaps. But the age gap itself is not necessarily inherently always the issue. So if you have found yourself in love with someone and you have a significant age gap but everything's working out for you, then there's no reason to break it off just because there is an age gap. If you're two consenting adults who are happy together, then that's wonderful. It doesn't really matter. But having an age gap can indicate that there might be problems that arise within the relationship. But there are other things to keep in mind besides the age gap. But before we do, you have to make sure to check out our free online dating opener formula. Because if you want to ever get to the point where you're finding your own relationship of, you know, a big or small age difference, then you want to be able to send that best first message to get into talking to that person you're interested to. And the best first messages come from this opener formula. This is going to triple your response rates on any dating site or dating app. So don't forget to click the link to our online dating opener. That's going to be linked above me and found in the description down below. So there are some major questions that you should be considering and asking of your partner if you do have an age gap of any kind, or probably in general you should be asking these in any case, but especially with an age gap, it's great to keep these key things in mind to know if you will be compatible and if it'll be, you know, generally a fortuitous relationship based on some of these major questions. One of the best questions to ask someone who you're interested in, especially if you have an age gap, is what are some of the major goals for your life? Because, you know, people with two different varying ages can have very different life goals at that point. Maybe the older party is ready to retire. Maybe the younger party is just getting into their career. So by learning about what is some major goals that people have in their lives, this can really help set the foundation in your mind, you know, what would a life be like with them? Do my life goals align with what theirs are, or is it just a mismatch that's going to get away in each other's goals? Careers, children, finances, and other major life events can very much play a role into the lifestyles and the happiness of the couple involved. So it's very important to figure out what each other's life goals are and if they sort of align in a way that makes sense. Make sure to have an honest conversation about these things, by the way. Don't pretend or put on a front or change your answer just to please them, because it'll just come back to bite you. Real quick question of the day though, what's the biggest age gap you've ever had in a relationship, or the biggest age gap that you would have? Do you have a cap on how much of a difference is too big? Do you think there's no difference that's too big? And what's the most significant age difference that you've ever been involved in any of your relationships? Leave your anecdotes, stories, comments, everything down below. We'd love to hear from you. The next question that you should be asking your partner, especially if you have a significant age difference, is what are your common interests? What interests do you share? Do you have any? So do you both enjoy golf, or does one of you love golf, one of you hates golf? Do you both enjoy, I don't know, shopping, going and trying new restaurants? Do you enjoy watching certain types of movies? Do you like art together? Or what are your interests that are similar? Interest in history, poetry, whatever have you. But do you have shared interests, and what are they? Because if you have zero, it might be something to think about. They do say opposites attract, so you never know. But if you have zero common interests, that could be a good indicator that maybe the age gap is a little bit on the significant side, because developing shared hobbies and interests can really strengthen your bond together. And without that, or without there even being an interest to do that, that could cause problems. The next question to ask someone you're interested in, especially if there's a significant age gap, is do your values and morals line up? So do you have similar values? Do you have the same idea of what is right and wrong? What's important to you? Is that important to them as well? They always say to avoid politics and religion, but this will come up at some point, especially if either of those are significant in your life. There are difficult topics that you do need to figure out where each other stands, because if this is going to be a long-term happy thing, then you should have some sort of agreement on these things, or maybe agreement to never talk about them, whatever works for you. But this anyway could be a great indicator of how well the relationship might go in the long run. Another question to ask yourself and your partner when evaluating whether or not to pursue an age gap relationship is, are you willing to compromise? So being willing to compromise is an important aspect of any relationship, but especially if your partner is in a different stage of life than you are. Are you willing to compromise for their happiness and for this stage of life that they're in? Are you willing to compromise your retiree days for days out with your partner? Are you willing to compromise your days out with days in with your retiree partner? So are you willing to do those compromises? Because they can be significant compromises depending on the difference in lifestyle. And a major question to ask yourself if you're thinking about pursuing a large age gap relationship is, are you resilient to outside judgment? Because there will be, depending on how big the age difference is. But if there's a very clear and significant age difference, people will talk. Even if it's not that big, people might talk anyway. This is something that's not the most usual. I mean, it's not uncommon, but it's uncommon enough where people do gossip about it. So if you are going to have a really large age gap in your relationship, you must be resilient to all the judgment. And if it really significantly, deeply bothers you that people might be judging you based on your age difference relationship, then maybe it's something to reevaluate, because that judgment will come. But at the end of the day, if a couple is happy together and they have similar values and morals, and they love the lifestyle they share, and they do have a significant age difference, but they're consenting adults and they're genuinely happy, there's no predatory situation happening there on either end, then good for them. Good for any couples who are happy in their age difference pairing. That is wonderful. Studies do say that couples who have less of an age difference do tend to last longer and be happier, all that, but every relationship is different, so to each their own. So that's going to wrap up this video on age differences in relationships. I hope you found it interesting. Do not forget to check out our free online dating app quiz. That's going to be linked above me and found in the description down below. The quiz will pair you with your perfect online dating site or dating app. It's quick, fun, easy, and totally free, so don't forget to check that out. While you're at it, make sure to check out our free online dating opener formula, because this is going to actually give you the best opening message to send to whoever you're interested on any dating site or dating app. It's totally free. It's going to triple your response rate as well, so don't forget to check that out, linked above and in the description down below. Also, now that you are just about done with this video, make sure to watch some of our other ones popping up on either side of me. And don't forget to answer the question of the day, all about age gaps. What's the most significant age gap difference that you've had in any of your relationships? Or what would be the most significant age gap that you'd be okay with in a relationship? Leave your comments, anecdotes, stories, everything down below. We'd love to hear from you. But that's going to just about wrap up this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Please leave a like if you liked it and subscribe if you loved it. And hopefully we'll see you here again at Online for Love. Thanks, bye!